we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have a roll call, starting, first name, we'll start with
Henry Holler?
All right. Didn't want to miss you on your, one of your last meetings.
Appreciate that.
Dean Berkeley. Larry McPhail.
Rich Bossman,
Bruce Ansel.
John Crawford.
Jason Vanderveen.
Joe Newchester.
Seth Wilson.
All right, thank you. We'll start with the Volunteer Pension Board meeting notes from April 18, which you were provided with. And would ask for a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
I move to approve the April minutes.
Second. Seconded. Any discussion or corrections needed on them that anybody noticed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anything else for the pension board?
Not today, sir?
Okay, pension board is adjourned. We'll start our regular board of commissioners meetings. And Chief, we'll start with the open office.
Great. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, good afternoon to you all. This is an exciting day because we get to swear in a new member to our department. Originally, we had scheduled a new lieutenant, but he is not here with us today, Blake Scott, but we'll catch him at the next meeting if possible. But today, we get to swear in our latest Division Chief Fire Marshal, Herschel Rostov. So, Herschel, meet me up front. Here we go. And then I'm also going to have the other chief officers up there with me today. So. No animals, right? Do my best not to hold the ring. Well, Herschel, welcome to the department. We're really glad you're here, and I'm going to read your oath of office and just repeat after me. You need to raise your right hand. Okay. I state your name.
I, Herschel Rostov,
Do hereby solemnly swear and affirm
do hereby solemnly swear and affirm
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to bear true faith and allegiance
to the constitutions of the United States,
to the constitutions of the United States,
to the Constitution of the State of Washington,
to the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and to the people of North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
and to the people of North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
I further swear that during my tenure
Further swear that during my tenure
as Division Chief Fire Marshal,
as Division Chief Fire Marshal,
I will serve honestly and faithfully
I will serve honestly and faithfully
and will obey,
and will obey,
according to the laws of the State of Washington,
according to the laws of the State of Washington,
the Governor,
the Governor,
and the officials and officers of the North Whatcom Fire and Rescue
the officials and officers of North Whatcom Fire and Rescue
appointed over me.
appointed over me.
I will, to the best of my skill and ability,
I will, to the best of my skill and ability,
faithfully discharge all the duties required of me
faithfully discharge all the duties required of me,
and execute the orders of my superior officers.
and execute the orders of my superior officers.
I will not be influenced in the discharge of my duty
I will not be influenced in the discharge of my duty
by fear, favor, or affection,
by fear, favor, or affection,
reward, or the hope thereof.
reward, or the hope thereof.
And in all my doing,
And in all my doing,
I acknowledge that I will be governed by the laws,
I acknowledge that I will be governed by the laws,
rules, and regulations
rules, and regulations
applicable to North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
applicable to North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. Along here, he's been fire marshal, so Chief Holliday.
Painful.
One's in it. It's just like starting an ILE, I think.
Same amount of bleeding.
How much time do we have for this meeting?
2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's what
we time this way.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for everything.
He's turning.
Congratulations. Thank you.
The swivel is exactly backwards.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Back.
On the Sin Company.
I missed the other one.
Yeah, probably Rich couldn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any public comment? Sign up, Jay? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. You all had a copy of it on the agenda, and there's been an update with a couple of revised figures that you should have today. And by email, and also I gave a copy before the meeting. Anything you want to say about the update?
There was just one mathematical error that needed to be fixed, and so that was part of the update that you have there. And then down the agenda a little bit, there's also a new voucher that just came forward today that I can go into explanation on either now or when it hits the agenda either way.
All right.
New voucher that's included in this?
I'm sorry?
That voucher is included in this, or it's?
No, it's separate. I have it here for you to approve.
Okay, would it be part of the consent agenda, or would it be separate?
Well, it came in as separate, but we can definitely include it in the consent agenda if you so wish.
I think it'd probably be a separate, we'll just go with what we got now, and put it under, would it be under unfinished or new business?
I believe we put it under new business.
Okay. Good. All right, on the consent agenda, you have it in front of you, I'll just, it's my practice, read through the amounts. The employees' direct deposit payroll, $292,213.84. Non-direct payroll, $17,784.53. Benefits voucher, $244,734.81. Monthly expenditure voucher, $53,278.15. Capital projects, $435.73. Any questions?
No, I didn't have anything.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded. Questions? Bruce?
Vacation repayment voucher was in this. Can you hum a few bars about that?
Absolutely, I sure can. So late last year, according to the newest CBA, there were some new payout language in that CBA that allowed the members to recap some of their vacation hours. And due to some errors in accounting last year, we have recouped some of that back into the district, and we created a new BARS number to account for that, the way that it came back into the budget. So that is called vacation repayment, and you'll see that is listed as a BARS number within the overall budget. So as this year goes on, the members that were overpaid are paying that back in increments, some of them, and that'll be in full by the end of 2019. So the new BARS number was created to account for those funds.
Do we know what the total dollar amount was?
I have to refer to you, we're at 22,000, I believe now, and some change. I don't think it's gonna go beyond about 30,000.
And all this came in this month, or did I miss it last month?
It was put into this new BARS number this month.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been accounted for since, I believe, March of this year, and we needed to create a way to show it on the new budget.
Okay, so this wasn't the whole amount that came in, this is over several months and now are recording.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Commissioner meeting reports. Anybody have any meeting reports?
I do not.
I do not.
I went for John at county commissioners meeting. Just a few people, some discussion over the repeater change, and that'll be in the notes that we'll get. And also some discussion, ongoing discussion about merging the two communication centers, so that's an ongoing issue. And again, there'll be more information on that in the minutes. So as soon as I get them, I will forward those minutes by email to you so you can look through them. It's a fairly short meeting for commissioners meeting. Any others? Okay, anything from the local? Nothing? Anything from legal?
Yeah, a couple updates for the commission. Some new legislation that's coming through, and it's going to take effect in the relatively near future. The first is there's a Senate Bill 5418, which is just waiting the governor's signature, so it's passed both houses of the legislature. And once that's signed, it's going to raise some of your bid limits and purchasing limits. Currently, under existing law, your public works, you bid out a bid, you can do anything up to 20,000. It's going to raise that up to 30,000. For equipment purchasing without a bid, currently the law is $10,000. It's going to raise that limit to 40,000. For your vendor list, it's going to raise your vendor list from 50,000 to 75 or to 70,000. For your general small works roster, the current limit is 300,000, and that's going to go to 350. And for your limited small works roster, that's going to go from 35 to 50. So every few years they adjust these numbers as inflation changes and such, and so this is kind of a revisions of those numbers. Two other laws, one that is already signed by the governor, it's going to go into effect July 28th, 2019, and this addresses the piggyback law for purchasing. As a government, obviously you're allowed to piggyback on other government agencies that have done public works bids for purchasing of equipment. There has been an ambiguity in the law which really affects especially your equipment purchases, your fire equipment. And that is under Washington's statute. It looks like Washington doesn't allow best bid, best value bidding. You have to take the lowest common or the lowest responsible bidder. Some states allow a best value where you can look at price, you can look at the manufacturer, everything else. It was not clear under Washington law whether or not you were able to do an interlocal piggyback with someone who had done a bid by best value, because it doesn't comply with your bidding requirements in the state of Washington. There was an informal Attorney General's opinion that came out in the last couple of years that said, yeah, you're fine doing that, but that's not law, and it'd still be open to potential auditors finding. So they have cleaned that up. The legislature has passed and the governor signed a bill that would make it express under the law that you're allowed to piggyback off someone who uses a different procurement method than what is allowed in Washington, as long as they have followed the procurement method in their state. So that'll clean that issue up and make sure that you're allowed to piggyback on those going forward. The last bill is Senate Bill 5670, which has also been passed by both chambers of the legislature and is waiting governor's signature. And that just provides that fire districts have the express authority to enter interlocal agreements with other public agencies to do repairs to their equipment that they use and operate, specifically school districts and buses, but not only that, any agency. And this was born out of a necessity. There was agencies, fire districts that were doing that, had signed up interlocals. They had shops that were taking care of their trucks, and they were taking care of doing some mechanic maintenance on other stuff, on school buses and other agencies' vehicles. Wasn't clear whether the statutory authority was there for that or not for fire districts, so this legislature is now making that express and clear. So that's the legal update.
So when did you say that these increases are going to take effect?
It'll depend on when the governor signs it. And they'll come
This
out.
year, not going to wait till January of next year?
Yeah, I don't know. When he signs it, then we'll get an effective date
Okay.
on that. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Update on your local agreement with District 4. District 4 got a hold of me yesterday, and they would like a little bit more time to look at some of the details on the interlocal. And so, they'd like to, have a couple of weeks and then maybe have a special meeting where the two of us can sit together and go over it and hammer that out. So would that be a fair reflection, Harry? Okay. So I suggested that, they give us some suggested dates when they're ready, and we'll try to agree on a date where we can sit down and work on an interlocal.
Were there specific issues identified?
I don't think they're really, I think they just wanted more time. And, I think they wanted to have a special meeting where they could just focus on that, the commissioners of the districts, rather than trying to squeeze it into one of our meetings. So I guess we will find out.
Yep.
So you get me some dates and then
I will.
run them by and we'll see if we can agree.
Right.
As far as I know, there's no pressure under time for this, am I correct?
No, we're under no time constraints, but it would take a special meeting though to come together.
Okay. All right. So,
So this is in addition to that one word change that we had last time where we said that, because it's in our packet, that, because it was only through 2015 and thereafter was added. Is this in addition to that, or are we gonna sign that too? Put it in our packet.
I don't think, is that part of the actual interlocal?
Yeah, right here.
And we were gonna make that
Interlocal
change.
agreement amendment, it's page 70 of our, in our,
Okay, what's the expiration if we need it to be signed?
well,
There really isn't, is there?
no, we just did the clarification because it says the contract payment for 2015 will be 25%, and the document sort of leaves it there, doesn't talk about what happens after
Yeah.
2015, although it was implied through legal that it just renews automatically anyway, but I believe that, Mr. Davis added in thereafter language, and it's here to be signed, so do we want to forego signing
I would
that?
say, because I got virtually no details of what they wanted to discuss other than they wanted some more time to look at it, so I would say let's leave that and settle that at that meeting too.
So,
Were you at that meeting, Chief?
Yesterday?
Is that it?
Yes. So they just, as a board, they chose to table, that ILA amendment at this time until they got a chance to discuss it.
Okay, so we'll do that at the special meeting then. Okay. Update on the master plan.
Yes, Commissioners, we assembled a small little group within our organization, our admin staff, to discuss the possibility of two different organizations to hire as a consulting firm to develop our master plan. And it was either ESCI or Citygate. And it looks like that ESCI has won that popular vote of the committee that I put together, so I'll be contacting them in the next week or so. We'll sit down and we'll discuss the details of what we're looking for and then come to agreement on a contract with them and then get them started as soon as we can. So ESCI is the company we chose.
Who Bellingham is?
City of Bellingham? I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, we'll give them a call and find out if they're happy with their results, cause they just got it.
Yeah, we definitely do that.
Okay. And how about the Grand Emergency Medical Transportation Program?
So this is, I apologize, I said it was new business, actually unfinished business from last month, but this is gonna take an action on the board side to approve this voucher. And the program of GEMT is now, we're seeing the fruits of our labor, I guess, if you will, over the last 12 months. Part of the process is that we pay our administrative fees up front, and then we get our reimbursement within 30 days after that. So this voucher is for you guys to approve today outside of the list of vouchers you had. And we've already made the funds transfer, and we need to get this payment made. So get that around to you today for signatures, but, Jenny, do you have a copy of that, or do I have it here? The voucher?
I didn't make copies of the actual. So you can see it,
Well, I have some copies of that.
Oh, you do have-
The voucher itself.
yeah.
So, you can mess this up. He has it, okay. So if you look on the front page there, the total reimbursements that this district is allowed is $1,046,141.79. And if you turn over to the back page there, our fees involved, and administrative fees are $275,802.45. So the district will net $770,339.34, and those fees will be reimbursed back to the district sometime in July. So it's not gonna take long for them to turn that around. It seems kind of an awkward way to do business, but this is the way the program works. Today you'll be approving the voucher of $275,802.45.
Is this the voucher for the partial year? Or
This is full year of 2017.
So there was one where we had a partial,
That's correct. That was a partial year of 2016,
Okay.
is what we saw originally.
and did we get a payment or pay a voucher for that?
We received reimbursement for that already, and I believe that the voucher, the payment for that is included in this voucher here.
I don't remember hearing that number.
The reimbursement voucher I got last time, it was, without having it in front of me, it was 32,000, and some change. That was the initial payment for the partial year of 2016,
It actually arrived the day of the board meeting last month's board meeting.
last month.
That's why I was in there right that day.
I was gonna say, cause we never got a report on the amount. So it was 32,000.
I think it's on your agenda.
Is it on the-
32,269.88.
Ooh, close.
Taking care of you, Jay.
And where was that money placed? What account did it go
That went
into?
into the general fund of District 21.
So we should see. Is that a new line item then in the financials?
I don't think she put in a new line item just yet. I think she was waiting for this next reimbursement, but you'll see a revenue line for that, yes.
So that would be the 275 plus the 32, when you see it in the line, is that what you're saying?
275 is the fee that we paid the
Okay,
administrative
but I mean,
fees.
the 770 plus the 35
That is
would be
correct.
one, okay.
That is correct. That would be on the revenue side. of the
So
budget.
that number won't match what we're looking at here. Okay. Discussion.
It would just be nice to see those numbers when they come in. And maybe somehow make us aware of it and what the new line item might be. For those of us who don't look at this every day, it's nice that when we do add something new like that, that perhaps maybe in our packet it can get highlighted or something so that we can see there's a new line item.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. It'll be clearer next time for sure. And I apologize for the late date on this reimbursement amount because it was just handed to me this morning. So,
Oh, no. I just we kept bringing this up, and as Henry said, came in after.
I got a text as the meeting closed at the last minute.
Came in after last meeting, so the 32, we were anxiously awaiting to hear what that first number was gonna be, so.
You think it'd be best to have it as one net amount line item, or would it be two? Where this is what you get minus this is what you pay?
I will check with Benita to see how we can account for that appropriately, to make it really clear what it looks like.
So I can see that number being very confusing to the auditor as they're looking at it.
Right. This is new for us, so we'll make sure that we reach out to those that have done it before and
See how we do it.
make it correct.
And then we should expect to see another payment around this time of year next year for 18.
That's what I understand, yes. The partial payment was really late coming in for us. Now that the program is solid with our organization, I think it's gonna be a lot more easy to predict next year. So at the end of this year, we'll start doing our reporting and getting together all of our data sets for the reporting company, and then it should be pretty timely every year after that, as long as the program is alive.
Thank you.
Everybody got it? Is there a motion to approve the voucher?
Okay. I move to approve the voucher. We don't have a number, do we?
275, 802.45.
Yeah, it's the 275.
Oh, it's on here.
275, 802.45.
Oh, yeah, here.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Information on volunteer program.
Well, I really have nothing new to report, other than, we still have a few folks that are, coming out of EMT school, and they're gonna be joining our organization as volunteer firefighters soon. We have no new applicants for the resident program at this point. We did get a chance to interview some folks, recently, so it's still kind of in service, but we just haven't got anybody yet.
And that other issue got straightened out,
Yes, sir,
the misinformation that was
absolutely.
sent out. Thank you.
Update on the levy that left.
So commissioners, I had a long conversation with a consulting firm. Her name is, the owner's name is Liz Loomis. And we talked about what it meant to run a levy limit. She's a firm that takes care of elections, so she's a consulting firm that's professional in that. We had a long conversation about that, and her recommendation at this point is to wait till next year for our organization, wait till the master plan has been developed for us. And if we're interested in using her services, she'd be more than happy to come up and do a presentation for you, so you can see what her services are, what her fee schedule is. And there's a lot to this that she would like to look at, and this late in the year is too, really, in her opinion, was too late to get into that meeting. But she did see the need for it. She did say that based on just some preliminary numbers that she had looked at, that potentially next year would be beneficial for District 21 to consider that.
And this year we got almost an equivalent amount from GEMT that we weren't expecting. That would
That's
pretty
not
closely
awesome.
match
Right.
if we had done this, so.
That's correct.
Without doing a limit, we've still got the similar amount of money.
Worked out good.
That is true.
Okay, action requested on Laurel Station system replacement.
Up to me, hey. So, I'll remind you, the Laurel Station, the septic system, has been failing slowly for the last couple of years. It was actually condemned by the county last fall. We went out and got a designer to design a new system. We got all the permits to install the new system. We went and got I requested from 4 different vendors. There's a pretty selected area who can do this kind of work for a Glendon system. So we got back 2 bids. 2 companies gave us proposals on that. That's why I was interested in when those limits were going to come into effect. And the lowest bidder is a company by the name of Brevet Construction, and they're highly qualified and have a really good reputation. I've checked out their background. I've looked at some of their projects they've done. And so I'm going to ask for your approval, although I don't think I need it now, but ask for your approval for them to go ahead and install the new septic system. And it's within budget, within the monies that we budgeted for that project. And the reason for the delay is we have to drive some big dump trucks in the back of the station, and we can't get around there this time of the year because the ground's still too wet. So we'll get a contract with this company, but they probably won't start till July or August, because we don't want the dump trucks sinking in. So, and there's a bit of, I have to get the neighbors, talk to the neighbors too, to make sure they're okay with us driving over some of their pasture land. There's a couple small details to finish. And I've been in contact with the health department. They understand, and they've given us the extensions we need until August or September. And then that project will be complete. So I guess today I'm just asking for your approval for the district to go ahead and enter into a contract with Brevet Construction to install a new septic system for the whole Station 69.
Money was budgeted, we're within budget.
We budgeted a certain amount that includes engineering and everything. I think it was $30,000, and their bid is $17,000 for their part of it. Permits was a little over $1,000. I think the engineering we already paid, it was $2,225. So we're under budget for what we allocated in the budget for this project. And also there'll be no downtime. The new system will be completely installed next to the existing system. And they'll actually be able to cut the line and move it over, they said, in about 30 minutes. So we won't have to worry about bringing in porta potties or porta showers, or the station will basically stay live for the whole time.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you for your work on that.
You're welcome.
No, we don't. It's in budget.
It's not separate.
Just something that's been ongoing, right, and I've been keeping you posted, so yeah, I'm fine with that.
So it'll be done in 2 weeks, yes.
When?
2 weeks?
No, it won't be done in 2 weeks. Can't drive back there yet, in July or August. We'll work out those details.
Okay, any questions on that issue? If not, we'll move on to paramedic consortium.
Late last month, we were contacted by Bellingham Fire and brought to a meeting. It was us in South Whatcom, Linden, District 7 in North Whatcom. And the discussion, the topic of the meeting was how are we going to move forward with staffing paramedic units in Whatcom County. And what came out of the meeting was that we would like to look, or we're looking at a consortium type system where anybody can work in the system and you remain an employee of your home department, and that gives other departments a chance to get some ALS providers and some different training, and gives folks different opportunities. Bellingham's in a crunch. They're kind of out of people who are willing to become paramedics, and they need some bodies to fill the spots in Whatcom Medic 1. In the meantime, the labor group signed an interlocal agreement between all the sub-locals. They're ready to move forward. There are a lot of issues that need to be worked out. Anything pertaining to the CBA, we have 2 guys from 2 different locals working together. There's a lot of issues that need to get worked out, as well as departmental policy and procedures. What happens if someone gets in an accident? You have 2 guys from 2 different departments that deal with it 2 completely different ways. But we're continuing to meet about the possibility of getting some of the Whatcom members involved in the ALS system of Whatcom County. We have another meeting upcoming. That's kind of where we're at right now. We're just scratching the surface, but there is a deadline. They would need to be enrolled in school in the fall
Of this year.
So there's a lot of questions we have about reimbursement. It sounds like there's Walker Medic 1 reimburses the department for the time the person's spending on the medic unit, as well as in training. So it would initially look like a giant burden on the department financially. It may not be as big as we thought. But there's, like I said, there's a lot of issues that need to get worked out with both labor and the other agencies. So that's something that we'll be reporting to you ongoing.
They're having trouble finding people willing to do it, or are the people at North Walton that are willing to do it?
We've identified about between 10 and 12 that would love the opportunity.
Good.
It would also, in my mind, it would be a good retention program. We would give people an opportunity to specialize in something and another reason to stay here. It would give our taxpayers ALS capability in-house. There's a lot of pluses, there's a lot of minuses, potential minuses that need to get worked out. We'll be
Obviously, there's a million questions. And having worked in a county that kind of did this in Shoreline and Evergreen and Woodville and Bothell and then, so I understand the logistics of it pretty well, but, we think that backfilling during training would be covered for us, correct?
correct.
So we wouldn't have that burden if we sent members to training, is the
I
expectation.
can't answer that definitively, but we believe that's what we were told.
And do we know anything more about the service model, how it would work, i.e. we send 3 people, 4 people, whatever, and what are they working on, like Medic 45, or where would they be?
Right, for right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, District 7 has signaled that they'd like to stay a District 7 only program. They're not interested in moving their guys out or having other people move in. So we would be riding on, the medics would be riding with Bellingham medics on Walker Medic 1 rigs. So they would either be assigned in the city or at Medic 10. With the idea is as we expand and Medic 5 gets on the road a couple of years down the road, that these guys or gals would move out into the county. They would move to different rigs just for a different experience. You know, for new people, obviously, we depend on where preceptors are working. They would spend 75% of their time on the medic unit and 25% back at their home department on the engine.
So long-term then, even though we can cover training costs, we're a 75% deficit.
Personnel-wise, yes, we would be at a 75% deficit.
And we're still trying to determine whether the county EMS levy is going to fund some of that piece of it too ongoing. We're not exactly sure yet, but those are some of the things that I'm real concerned about to make sure that we can sustain it.
Because those would be overtime costs.
Potentially,
I spoke with Chief Boyko for a while this morning, and the medics, their medics are part of the Walker Medic 1 system. Their time as paramedics is reimbursed by EMS levy money
To cover their position.
to cover their position.
So you will see those London estimates worked out.
Yeah.
We're highly in favor of it for sure as an agency. ALS services are really the direction that we should be going. We just want to make sure that it's fiscally responsible and that we can make this happen. It's pretty short notice this year to get something like this together. But we're still attending meetings, we're still gathering information, and we'll update you as things come in.
Thanks.
Good luck. I'd like to see it happen.
Yeah, I mean, wonderful idea. I'd love to see more opportunities for our people.
It is. And we did look at the Redmond model, is what we called it, a host agency, and we just, all the chiefs thinking, our people work where they work for a reason, and if we did that, it would just be, once again, if it came down to that, Bellingham, you know, I hate to use it, Bellingham could hold the county hostage again, because all the ALS is in Bellingham. This would finally crack a little bit more, getting some ALS resources in the county, that if there were ever to be a split for whatever reason,
I'm good to
we've
the
got to open the door, and we've got a seat at the table. So,
No, hopefully it can be worked out. I know that, the difficult stuff is who do they work for and who is in charge and who handles discipline
What
and who
happens if-
handles liability
exactly.
and who handles et cetera, et cetera.
yes. That's a long list.
Okay, thank you. Move on to new business, information on some resignation.
Yes, Commissioners, we have two firefighter resignations that I'd like to tell you about. The first one, his name is Seth Richmond. He is a new hire with us, and he's only been with this organization 9 months. Great person, we really are going to miss him. He's been a good member here. He got a full-time job back at his home department where he came from. So he felt like that was better for him and his family, and we wish him the best of luck. So Seth resigned here just a few weeks ago, and want to make sure you guys have it on the agenda today. The other one was Mike Ross. He's been with this organization since 2007, and he chose to resign from the department to pursue other avenues in his life. So we wish him well as well.
What department is that? Go back to?
King 2, I believe is what it is.
Marion.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're in the process. If you don't mind, I can move on to the next line there on the agenda.
yeah, I'm just saying that hopefully we
So
helped in his development, is one way to look at it.
Yeah. So we are in the process of doing some hiring of new firefighters, and we have chiefs interviews coming up tomorrow. And we're moving 6 people ahead into those interviews. They've already been through a couple of interviews processes already. And we'll make some decisions by the end of tomorrow how many people we want to make initial offers to. So we're hopeful that we can fill some of those vacancies now and get some people on the floor. So pretty excited. We have some good folks applying.
How many current vacancies are there?
5 currently.
So would we take 5 if we had 5 viable candidates?
That would be my goal. Absolutely.
Which brings us probably to North Wacom Fire Academy.
So I invited Captain Jorgensen here today just to give you an overview of how he has put together our abbreviated academy to bring these new firefighters into our organization. So thanks, Chris, for being here today.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So to add on to that, I'm happy to report that starting June 10th, we're going to be hosting a North Wacom Fire Academy. It's going to be a skills assessment academy, and it's going to be a 3-week, 180-hour type academy. Pretty involved, and it's established to take that candidate that has a good base, has certifications, and enhance their skills, basically operational wise, of how North Wacom performs everything. They're going to be going through assessment and skills in all categories, from fire, EMS, to rescue, to hazmat, to wildland, and sprinkling a few more. So that being said, based on how many people we hire, it should be a very successful academy. We're lucky that we're going to be having in-house people teaching that and basically enhancing their skills. So the goal of this is by the first part of July, we'll get them ready to be on shift, and they're going to be ready to go.
So this is a lateral hiring or a experienced level
Somebody
entry
call that
hiring?
It's kind of a
Hybrid?
it's kind of a hybrid. It's made our requirements basically for those candidates are a Fire 1 certification from the state of Washington or equivalent, hazmat operations, EMT basic, and a current CPAT. So they're going to come in basically meeting those requirements. They've gone through the education. They've proved to the state of Washington or whoever certified them, that they can pass those skills. So now we're just gonna take those skills and we're just gonna keep enhancing those, more focused on North Wacom operations.
Cool.
Any other questions I can answer?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris?
Okay, fire code official appointment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm actually going to defer to our new chief fire marshal to explain this process to the board. It's a critical piece of his office, and I'm going to turn it over to Herschel and let him explain what this is.
Great, thank you. The fire code book refers to the person in charge of the fire marshal's office, not as the fire marshal, but as the fire code official. And all of the references within the code book are reference to the fire code official. And it gives them, the fire code official, some authority in particular to render interpretations of the code. And so one of the sections in the beginning of the code book is the requirement to be appointed into the role of fire code official. And so as the appointing authority, that would be your function would be to appoint the fire code official to be able to run that office and then also render interpretations.
So in lieu of fire marshal, that's the new term, or in addition to, or?
In addition to, I would say that fire marshal is the common term out there that the fire service uses. The code book, because they had a building code official, 2 versions ago changed the fire marshal to the fire code official. So they just lined them up. So the code book uses that terminology. The fire service uses the terminology of fire marshal. And so to be able to address both perspectives and to meet the code requirements, that's why there's a requirement for the appointment. It's the same the same job with 2 different titles.
So we need to get an application for a new code officer?
So is there a document or a template or a resolution or?
Yeah, I think
just
there's a motion.
Resolution.
Is it?
Just a motion.
So we just need to have a motion to appoint our
Fire
fire
marshal.
marshal Herschel Rostov to become the fire code official.
Yes.
For the district.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Seems pretty clear, even to us.
There you go.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Don't expect all your ideas to be this easily.
Now the controversy.
You have to give me a name tag or anything.
That too. Okay, I understand there's nothing for policies and procedures, is that right, Chief?
No policy and procedure though, but getting back to new business, we do have a guest speaker who covered new business.
Oh, yeah, that's
You're
right.
waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'd like to
Couldn't read it,
introduce
it was
Fire
under
Chief
my-
Matt Morris. Matt and I have been friends for a long, long time now, and he was gracious enough to come up today, and Matt's the fire chief for Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority, and which is an extremely large fire authority in the state of Washington. So I thought it'd be beneficial to have him come up and answer questions of the board regarding RFAs. So Matt, can you just give us a brief, quick bio on who you are and where you're from and what's going on down south?
Is it okay that I've known him a long time, or is that good or bad? Before we're going through. Yes, absolutely. First of all, Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you for the opportunity to come up and share kind of our experiences as an RFA, and I know that's something that a lot of fire agencies in the state are exploring and looking into and considering, and more than happy to kind of talk about the RFA experience and the advantages and some of the challenges that come along with that. Right? Nothing, I think we said earlier, everything with a positive has a downside as well. So we can talk about some of those challenges. But you know, my fire service background, I started in fire service about 30 years ago. The smaller municipal fire departments, spent about 5 years there. moved to the larger department in the valley and spent 23 years with the city of Henderson in Southern Nevada. Rose up to the ranks and left there as the fire chief there for a couple of years and took the position up here with Puget Sound. So most of my career is spent with the municipal fire department, which is a completely different funding structure than an RFA, obviously, or in a different governmental structure. And so I spent the last couple of years up here now as the fire chief of Puget Sound, learning a lot about the governance of the fire service from a different perspective to the RFA piece, right? And so poured myself into that quite a bit, and at the end of the day, 2 years later, I'm a big fan of the RFA structure. Let me give a quick overview of my organization, and then we can kind of maybe dive into some of the nuts and bolts and whatever questions as a panel you may have. But so my organization today is 105 square miles, 13 paid fire stations, 3 volunteer/resident stations. We cover about 275,000 people. Daytime resident population kind of swells above 300 when you consider the population of SeaTac in the airport during the day. So we cover that. We run about, probably this year we'll probably run just a little over 30,000 emergency responses as an agency. The RFA for the agency is the City of Kent, City of Covington, and Fire District 37. Right? That's the original, that's the RFA. We have 2 contract cities that we have ILAs with that we provide services to via contract. One is the City of SeaTac, and the other is Fire District 43, or the City of Nickel Valley, in that unincorporated area towards Ravensdale and Hobart. And so that's kind of how the structure of the organization is set up. So we have the RFA. When we talk about an RFA, it really pertains to the middle of all that district, which is the original City of Kent, and the Kent RFA that was established in 2010. And so that piece of it is about $53 million worth of budget, and then the 2 contract cities are about $10 million piece. It's about a $73 million organization that has about 330 people in it at any given time. So that's kind of the overview of the organization. So the RFA piece of the funding. So to move an organization from the $1.50 assessed value property tax for revenue and into an RFA, the greatest advantage to an RFA, in my opinion, is it provides you multiple revenue sources as an organization. Right? And so, you know, the secret to wealth, right, is, if you read any of the books, is to have more than one source of income, right? A millionaire becomes a millionaire when you have over 7 sources of income. That's what they tell you. And so any way you can diversify your income is better, because then when something, you know, unexpected or untoward happens in your organization, an economic factor, it hits a slowdown or recession, it doesn't hit your only revenue source, which would be assessed values. And with the current structure in the state, with the assessed values being limited on the growth but not limited on the decrease, that should be a point of concern for all of us as we lead organizations, right? So we can only grow it at 1% a year, but if it was to go the other way, it'll free fall, right? And so, in revenue, and so we need to be careful with that. So the RFA structure, what that allows us to do is instill a fire benefit charge, right? That the organization has the ability to design and develop and define that meets their community needs and their community structure. Right? The benefit charge moves away from the use of simple assessed value, and you have the ability to assign other factors that determine the benefit charge. Those factors can include assessed value if you wish, but typically what you see most organizations do is square footage, type of occupancy, any other risks that are associated with that, if it's a special risk occupancy, what the effective response force would be to manage a fire in that structure. So how many firefighters, how many apparatus, how many resources do we have to send to manage the typical event there. Other risks can include water supplies, presence of, not presence of, those types of things. You can incorporate that. If they have fire suppression systems in the building, can reduce their benefit charge. There's a lot of options on how you want to design that, depending on how complicated or simple you want to make it. But the advantage to that is what you're allowed to do then is that once the RFA is established, then your tax rate goes from $1.50 to $1. That other 50 cents that you need to run your organization with, you cover with the benefit charge. And it can be above 50 cents in some areas and less than 50 cents in others, which means you can place the burden of the cost of the fire service on the higher risk occupancies and less of a burden on the lower risk occupancies, right? And so what that allows you to do is you can look at your commercial occupancies and say that's a high risk occupancy, it's a manufacturing ware facility, so whatever like that, and assign a greater risk factor to that, and charge the benefit charge assigned to that would be a greater rate than what a single family dwelling would pay. Right? And so that other piece that you would cover, the greater than the dollar, that 50 cents or more, is not just now a blanket approach to all of your buildings paying $1.50. Everybody pays $1, and then high risk occupancies pay more, low risk occupancies pay less, until you get to where you cover your budget, which if you're living at $1.32 today, you would be able to do that relatively easily. The benefit and the benefit charge, in my opinion, is it allows you as an organization to use your benefit charge to cover, increase, and decrease that funding based on the needs of the organization. If you have a capital need of a fire station, you can bring your benefit charge up for 1 or 2 years, collect the money for that fire station, and then bring your benefit charge back down, without having to pass bond issues and things like that. If it's within the parameters of the money, if there's enough money there to do it. And so it gives you a little bit more agility and a little bit more flexibility from the business aspect of the organization and providing services. It's a well thought out, prepared type of mechanism to handle the funding. The challenge with it, of course, is it's voter approved, right? And then it has to be reauthorized every 6 years. The initial authorization has to be a 60% plus 1, and then the continued authorization is 50%, 50 plus 1 vote every 6 years after that. And so it becomes a voter instilled process. And so it would, it's obviously wise of the organization not to live too far above 150. I mean, $1.50 per thousand, right? You don't live too far, because if you don't pass your reauthorization, you go back to the $1.50. So there's an incentive there to maintain your finances within the realms of the $1.50. If you start living at $3, like some areas in Pierce County do, it would be awfully hard to absorb that much of a loss if it doesn't get authorized. So, and that's kind of the general overview of the RFA and the approach to funding. So I guess at this point, it might be better to if you have any questions, I can answer that and see where that takes our conversation.
What kind of a governance model do you have for that?
It's a good question. So our current governance board is made up of the original members of the RFA. So the City of Kent, the City of Covington, Fire District 37. So 3 of the members are City of Kent City Council people. 3 of the members are elected at large fire district commissioners. And then we have a member from the City of Covington and that sits on the board as well as an advisory piece. And so it's a 7-member board. Now we also have advisory seats for the contract cities of SeaTac and Maple Valley that have members on the board that they don't vote. That's the overall makeup of that today.
Did they have the opportunity to become part of the RFA and just decline?
Well, the city of SeaTac, it doesn't pencil out well from a financial perspective, because you cannot leverage a benefit charge on the majority of the commercial occupancies in that city because they're associated with the port. So that you can't place a levy on the port properties. And so that would put the majority of that benefit charge piece, that 50 cents, into their single family residences, which is a relatively fixed income population. And it would be an unfair burden on them. And so it was never even put to vote, it was never considered once you did the math. The City of Maple Valley tried to pass a benefit charge twice, and it was voted down twice. And so that fire district, Fire District 43, had a fundamental funding structural problem within the finances, and the fact that the cost of providing services was going up faster than the 1% growth. And I don't know, for us, our organic budget growth is about 3 to 5% a year, just in CPI increases, wages, benefits, and cost of doing businesses. Your budget's going to increase 3 to 5% year over year if you don't add anything. Property taxes are capped at 1% of the year before. And so for our organization, our property tax revenue is about $20 million for the RFA. And so year over year of 1% is $200,000. Our healthcare increase was nearly $1 million last year. I didn't, it's not even given a CPI raise to anybody. So the property tax at 1% cap is the structural challenge that we all are dealing with, right? And so how do you overcome that piece? And that's that benefit charge. Now, the challenge is that benefit charge has a cap as well. That benefit charge can only be raised to 60% of your operating budget. And so once you hit this piece and you raise that benefit charge to 60%, you're out of money. Okay? And that's the voter approved piece. So it's this balance of a lid lift, benefit charge renewal piece in your organization finances. And so it's a lot of agility, but then you got to be very strategic about how you manage your budget. You can't just go raise your benefit charge and everything to the max, collect all this money, build a bunch of stuff, hire a bunch of people, and then 2 years later run out of money. That would be the risk.
Other questions?
So, overall, I mean, so you combined basically 5 jurisdictions, or you contract with 2. You know, some of the driving factors for us coming in the near future would be cost savings, and was there cost savings, do you think, overall? Were you around to experience if that consolidation actually did result in some sort of cost savings for the RFA? Or
Yes. Yeah. So,
and if so, how?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think that the establishment of the RFA is, it's about, there's a cost savings piece in the sense of you shifting your current, what it costs to run your operation, it costs to run your operation today, right? And you know that's going up, but what it does is it gives you the ability to place the burden of that collection of that money more in certain areas and less in other areas, and you still collect the same bottom line, which means you can shift with the benefit charge. The people with the highest risk occupancies would pay more than the people with the lowest risk guys. And it's not simply based on their assessed values. It's based on their square footage, it's based on the type of occupancy, commercial versus residential versus high occupancy residential, you know, high density, that type of thing. You can move that pot of money around and collect more from certain, less from others, and maybe make it a little more equitable to your citizens, right? And it gives you the agility as an organization to be able to collect a little bit more if you need to, and go above the $1.50 without a voter approval if you need to, right? I don't know if I would recommend that, but you have the ability to do that. So the piece of it is to really create a business agility and diversification of your revenue, which creates stability and resiliency in your organization financially. That's the advantage of an RFA. The advantage of consolidation of organizations together is the cost savings piece, because now there's one fire chief for 5 organizations that used to have 5 different fire chiefs, and 5 different operations chiefs, and 5 different logistics chiefs, and 5 different fire marshals, and now they all have one that they all pay a piece of. So there's cost savings for all organizations, including the RFA original. So our contracts with City of SeaTac and the City of Maple Valley are cost-effective cost savings for the RFA as well as it is for those communities. Because now they're paying 15% of the ops chief that the RFA doesn't have to pay. And so it's kind of a cost-sharing piece. The training consortium, I heard the conversation about the consortium. That's a thing for me is coming into the area that I've never heard or seen of anything so amazing as our training consortium. The South King County Training Consortium, we currently train at the same standard, at the cost-sharing piece, 14 fire departments, 1,100 firefighters are all trained at the exact same standard. They all train together, and it drives the cost down below $5,000 a person a year to train for an agency. And that includes your academy costs. It's amazing. And in an area that we run nothing but auto aid, I mean, auto aid is a standard daily occurrence across borders. Now when we get a significant incident or a high-risk incident like a structure fire or a significant accident, we'll roll 3 or 4 different agencies to a house fire. And all 3 or 4 of those agencies are all functioning on the same page, they train together, they know each other at the same standards, the same expectations, and it runs seamlessly, flawlessly, which for a fire chief, it does 2 things for me. Makes me sleep better at night, right? Because now the firefighters are safer, right? Consistency breeds safety. And then it keeps the financial costs down, which is another reason I sleep better at night. So, that consortium approach, if you can weave your way through all of the politics and the who's and the the where's and the where's and all that thing, and you can just get to the bottom line of that and get everybody to agree to a standard, the consortium approach is probably one of the best things in public safety I've ever seen. Because it is, it's a game changer. Right? And so we have a training division that everybody contributes. You figure out the cost of the training division to train that number of people, and then you divide that back up amongst the agencies based on the number of people they're going to have trained. And then as an agency, let's say as an agency, your cost per training is $1 million. You can either pay that in cash or you can pay that in people. And so you can put the training officers down there and the training officers. What most agencies do, they send a couple training officers down and they fill in the rest with cash. And that's how it fills in. So there's over a 20-person staff in this training consortium. We run academies of 40 people twice a year, and we do block trainings, and all of the required trainings and then some are accomplished and all recorded, standardized for the entire agency. And as an agency, it's really beneficial to the smaller agencies like the Burings and the North Highlines and the Tuckwillas and things like that, because they don't have to fund an entire training division. Right? It's a huge cost savings to smaller agencies like that, and it elevates the training center. So the consortium piece is a great business model for those support divisions. So, and you see that a lot in South King with my agency. We run the fire shop that most agencies, we run a fire shop consortium, if you will. We provide fire shop services to 13 different agencies by ILA contracts. And so we have a 15 person shop mechanics. And we do all the trucks in the South King County, all the agencies in South King County, including the port and the airport trash trucks.
Do you have a purchasing consortium
We do.
as well?
We run a logistics. Now that one's just kind of taking off, if you will. Most of the same agencies in the training consortium are in the logistics consortium. The challenge there has been getting standardization of apparatus, right? And at least to somewhat of a consistent spec, because that's where you get your money. So instead of buying one here, one there, we'll walk in and buy 7. And it's a lot cheaper per rig when you buy 7 than 1. But you got to get all the agencies to kind of agree on what they want their fire engines to look like. So that's, in the fire service, that's a challenge. Right? There's an emotional attachment to fire.
They agreed on color yet?
Yeah. No, the color is easy to solve. Yeah, there's certain things as a fire chief you don't do. You don't change patches, you don't change apparatus. Right? People are attached to those things. Yeah, so absolutely. But so I'm a big fan of those things as well. Yeah. It's a definite cost savings, consistency, resiliency building approach to public safety. Because we're all, in this state especially, all of us are on the same path of running out of money because our revenue stream is capped at 1%. Right? And the cost of doing business goes up by 5% every year. So at some point you're going to run out of money without voter approval of doing the lid lift. Right? You have to keep doing this. Right? So, which we know is a difficult thing anymore, right? Passing voter initiative. Right?
So can you explain the dollar? I understand, we're capped at $1.50.
Sure.
So I understand the first dollar is normal. Then you said the extra 50 cents is through the benefit charge. How do you know if and when you go over that?
Well, your benefit charge is capped at 60% of your operating budget. So Joe and I were talking about this earlier. So if your budget, to make math simple, if your budget is $9 million, right? At $1.50, you collect $9 million. Let's just make it simple. Fire chief math. So at $1.50, you collect $9 million. So $1 will give you $6 million, right? So the other $3 million is the 50 cents. And so if your budget is $9 million, 60% of $9 million is $5.4 million. I have the ability to collect 5.4 out of my benefit charge while I'm collecting the 6 at the $1. So I can go above the $1.50 if you so chose to. You would want to use your benefit charge just to collect what you need to balance your budget, right? Which would probably be about $3 million. But you have the ability to collect 2.4 million more than that if you so needed to. Like, let's say you had an emergency purchase, you need to buy 2 fire engines because they blew up or they died and they weren't insured or whatever. And so you can raise that for 1 year, collect an additional $1 million, and bring it back down the next year, which you would not have the ability to do today at the $1.50. You would just hope you have enough reserve funds to cover that. Right? So that's the agility piece it takes for
you can annually sort of reassess a benefit service charge.
Yeah, you do it annually, absolutely. And because the reason is that is because your budget growth, if you're 9 million, you're gonna go 5% next year.
Right.
But your property tax, you're only gonna get, another, right, $90,000 in property taxes. Right, and so, but your budget's gonna go up by $1 million. And so where do you get the other $900,000 is your benefit charge. Right, and so you bring your benefit charge up to cover the gap in your funding, rather than having to go out for live lift every 3 years.
So from a sort of voter approval standpoint, it would seem like the commercial occupancies, et cetera, who were probably footing the majority of the bill, probably don't even vote in your district, correct?
Correct.
They don't probably live there. The owners may be in California or whatever. And so the property owners, the residential property owners, are sort of voting on behalf of the commercial properties to say, we'd like you to pay the bill for us. Has there been any pushback, drawback? Have the commercial properties gone, oh my gosh, or, the city comes to you and says, quit beating up our commercial properties, they won't move into our wonderful city anymore?
No, not at all, absolutely not, because it's still, their end of the day tax rate doesn't change significantly more than what they were paying at the $1.50. The citizens will probably pay less than the $1.50, and the commercial may pay a little bit more, but it's not, we're not talking about millions of dollars per person. I live in the district. My benefit charge and my property tax they're almost the same amount of money each, so it's less than $1.50. Right? I pay $1 here, and then, right, and so they balance back out. This one's about half of what that is, and so I pay like $1.40, $1.43 is what I pay as a resident of the community. And then we have some commercial occupancies that pay above $1.50. The ones that really will pay more will be the high-risk occupancies. The manufacturing facilities, chemical facilities, hazmat-related facilities, things like that, that have a high risk to the community and to the responders and the people in the area. And I think most of your community members would support those people would have to pay more because of the risk that they bring into the community. So.
And is there a sort of a template that's already been built for something like that, so that if we chose to do something, we wouldn't be reinventing anything here? We would just say, this type of property, this square footage, whatever, typically would get this.
Yeah, that's what I would encourage. I think if you were serious about trying to explore the RFA option, then you would have to do the homework of your jurisdiction and the communities that you serve. You'd really have to look at, from a county assessor type of perspective, how many rooftops, what do you have, what they are, what type they are, what the risk factors are. You'd have to do all of that homework first to determine if it's even potentially viable. The conversation is CTAC. The CTAC is an obvious choice for a benefit charge until you realize you can't, right? And so you'd have to do all of that groundwork. The Valley Regional Fire Authority, which is just south of us, right, the city of Auburn and Pacific and Algona, they structure theirs a little bit differently than ours because they're based on their commercial occupancy percentage of occupancy to residential in their community versus ours. Right? We have a very large commercial occupancy in the city of Kent. It's nearly 36% of the rooftops of the occupancies in that city are commercial. That's huge, right? Which makes the benefit charge very appealing. Right? Whereas that's why it didn't play well in the city of Maple Valley, because city of Maple Valley has like a 2% commercial occupancy. It's a residential community, which would have placed the burden of the benefit charge, again, more on the residents than on the commercial. And for the commercial piece, it's not a significant increase in cost to their overall tax rate, and they just roll it over into their leases typically. So it doesn't get a whole lot of pushback. It's worked well from that perspective. The challenge again is just always going to be, this only goes up by this much, so I got to raise this up every year to cover the gap. And eventually, I'm going to hit the 60%. I don't have. That's just the path that you're on, because the other piece of it only goes up by 1%. Right? So you really, at some point, when your budget goes up by 5%, you're only covering this little bit over here. You got to cover it somewhere, and eventually you run out. Which, depending on how assessed values go and the cost of doing business and CPIs and things like that, it's probably about a 6 to 8 year window.
Do you know how long the process took back in 2010.
About 2 years.
Yeah.
It was,
2 to 3 years.
It was about a 2.5 year window before, it was 2 years before they were ready to put it on a ballot, and then once it went on the ballot and was approved, it took about 6 months to go to flip the switch to establish it. It would be probably a little bit different from a fire district perspective, becoming an RFA, because you would not be separating yourself from a city. That was the challenge that they had when they established the Kent RFA, was they had to separate themselves from the city, which means they had to do that in 6 months, which means they had to establish IT, HR, finance, they had to establish all those support divisions, their own independent support divisions, which you would already have in place. So that would probably be a lot easier transition. And we just now established our own independent IT network, 8 years later, 9 years later, so it took a little while.
Would you say the pushback against it was financial and logistical as opposed to personnel?
The labor group and the local were a huge fan and supporter of it, and I think that's the only way it would be successful. And it's just like the conversation of mergers and the medical and paramedics. If the labor groups are in support, then they have a chance of making it successful. If they don't support it, it's really, I mean, from a governance perspective, I don't know that they even attempt to do it, but the locals didn't support it. I think that the pushback is always the concern about a new way we pay for things as a government, and it feels like a different tax, right, to a community. And in today's world, that's a difficult thing to explain to people, right? And so it requires a certain amount of trust in public funding and public administration that I think has been challenged in our communities in the recent history. And so the fire service carries a little bit more trust than most industries. However, it's not uncommon to see the fire service fail their initiatives in the state of Washington anymore. So it's a difficult message sometimes to carry. It's hard to explain to people funding, two-part funding, 40% of this, 60% of that, and raise this, lower that. Right? It's kind of complicated.
Who led the process for Puget Sound RFA? Do you know? Did they have a lead consultant that ran that?
Well, they had a work group that they put together of various community leaders in the area, and they brought in Burt Consulting out of the city of Seattle as a consulting firm that assisted with that process. But it was led by more of a community group of the fire chief and the division chief and the chamber leader and the city council and the mayor and this.
But someone has to sort of keep the train on the tracks.
I would say it was the agency that did that, for sure. Yeah,
I'm assuming you had left one employee when you put that RFA together.
At the time they did, yes.
Yeah,
They don't now.
I know there's less now. Did the RFA just absorb those?
What they did there is the city can't continue to cover those.
So they stayed with the city and didn't come, because that's a big,
Absolutely.
a big unknown cost.
Yeah.
Interesting that they stayed with the city.
Yeah. It's up, at that point when you have to separate from the city, some of those pieces become negotiations, right?
Yeah.
If this for that type of thing, and not cost offsets.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
I just have one small question. I'm curious if we have these commissioner schools on a somewhat regular basis. I'm wondering if they cover anything like this at the school. They do cover it?
They do, the state legislature this last session, or last session before last, changed the RFA language to make it more appealing to agencies. It used to be, in order to merge into an RFA, you had to be adjacent, touching each other. Now it just has to be within reasonable distance, I think is how it's worded, which is somewhat subjective. But there's encouragement from the state legislature to push regionalization of services, right, and to join organizations and to cost share as much as you can. And the RFA model is a great model for that. The King County commissioners, the RFA model is popular in King County, obviously, right? And just in South King County, there's 3 different RFAs. And so they do a lot of conversation and a lot of training on the RFA piece within the King County Commissioners meetings. So they're kind of focused on that, because those smaller fire districts like that, and the smaller fire, those are the ones that are struggling to figure out how to pay for the cost of the organization limited at 1% on a single revenue stream.
I don't know, the commissioners have discussed this with Rich Davis, but Rich Davis has formed a number of RFAs as well, so he has experience in that.
And then, we use, Brian Schnurr, who's obviously, I think most people are familiar with him and his dad's law firm, so well-versed in all of the establishment of this and the legal side of all of these things. So, represents a lot of different RFAs.
Yeah, he put on a training class, I think you and I attended that one, which was, it talked about, mergers and consolidations and touched on RFA as well. That's where that initial panel came from that we attended 2 years ago now, probably.
I've been to a couple of his schools, and I thought I gained quite a bit from classes he put on.
Smart man, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Again, I'll just leave it with, if you ever have any questions, anything I can do, there's some people in my organization that know a lot more about this than me. More than happy to connect you with them. The people that were the experts in the creation, establishment, and design of the benefit charge and how it's allocated based on square footage. Ours is broken apart by types of sizes of residences versus sizes of commercials and then risk factors associated with that. So if you come in and build a 10,000 square foot house, you're going to pay a higher benefit charge rate than the person who lives in a 1,000 square foot single family dwelling, that type of thing. And so we try to make it equitable to the community and the members of it. So, the people in lower income areas pay less than the people in the higher income areas, and commercial pays more. But any questions, anything I can ever do for your organization, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're more than happy to partner up and do whatever we can to help you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
your time.
Thank you.
Anytime Joe wants to buy me lunch, I'll come up.
That'd be a
We'll
big new line item.
increase his budget.
Good work, Jim. Thank you.
And make them pay for that in their own pocket.
There you go.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, we'll pick up.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Have a good day, guys. All right, you bet.
Thank you.
Pretty good size.
Okay, anything on correspondence? If not, we'll move on to, the next board meeting attendance is 6/20, June 20. Anybody unable to make that?
We'll
Not be at, we'll make sure we invite
You want to be in that one?
You get it right.
And you're a
Why didn't you hit me?
No.
Oh, you'll be there, okay. All right. Okay, agenda items for the next meeting, let's see, anything we need to leave on?
We didn't finish.
Matt?
The interlocal
Interlocal.
deal, or is that gonna be a special meeting, you said?
That'll be a special meeting.
So you'll send out maybe a request for that. I guess the master plan will get a final report on that.
I'll give you an update on that next month. GEOT will give you an update on it next month.
We'll do those two on. Maybe.
I think we're good on the levy limit for now. Tomorrow is
There's so
good.
much you can say about the septic system.
Any updates on the paramedic consortium would be nice.
That's in the chief's report.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, I'd like to say a few words about Chief Hollinger, if you don't mind. This is his last board meeting.
Before we go into executive.
Yeah. I would just like to thank you, Henry, personally, for all of your attention to detail over the years, your service to this community. You mean a lot to us, not only professionally, but personally. We thank you kindly for all your efforts here, we really do. How many years do you have in this district? 30?
Well, from the start, 26.
26 years. I think your original oath of office was on a stone tablet, maybe.
We were chipping it in.
Yeah, but on behalf of the fire district, we really thank you for your service. We really do.
Thank you.
And a reminder that the celebration is the 30th of
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today.
Here.
Here.
All right.
I'll be there.
What time?
And you're gonna come too?
I'm coming.
No.
What time?
Okay.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. All right, put that in your calendar.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome. I'm sure will be more acclimates coming at that time.
Yeah.
Or not.
Thanks.
That one will be off the record, right?
Okay, we're gonna go to, executive session, and there's gonna be two, RCWs. I mistakenly only listed one. One will be 4230-110, subsection G, for, evaluate qualifications of an applicant and review the performance of a public employee. We'll also be discussing 42.30.140, which is, collective bargaining. I do not expect that we'll make any official action at the end
Okay.
of the executive session, and I would expect that it'll last probably until 2:50 at the earliest. If it's longer than that, we'll come out and let you know. All right, so we'll break, maybe take 5 minutes, and then we'll resume with the executive session.
Commissioner Crawford, did you think auto aid for on the next month?
No, he's clarified it.
Oh, okay.
It's in the chief's
Okay.
report.
Perfect.
Are you ready? Good to see you. Yeah.
You too, Ken.
I'm glad you didn't take me off your mailing list. I enjoy you.